The other day on Threads, I posted a uh, prompt from my 365 Dad Journal, and that prompt basically was, "How do you truly feel, right? As a dad, how do you truly feel on the inside when your child expresses a longing for or like missing their mom while in your care?" Um, and it kind of went like low key viral, right? It went low key viral um, because to me, enough people really resonated with it. And it was great to see so many different responses. And I also love when I post things for dads, but I realize that moms they find value in it and they chime in and they share their experience with it. I think that's amazing. So I said, how do you feel when your kid is like crying for their mom or just longing for their mom while they're in your care? As a dad, how does that make you feel? And it brought up a lot of different reactions. And one of the reactions was very interesting. Well, okay, there were themes, right? So you definitely had some moms that were like, and dads that were basically saying it's in their experience that the other parent kind of like shuns their child away from that. So like if the child is, "Oh, I miss dad," or "I miss mom," the other parent is like not making the phone call, or maybe they feel some type of way. And this is why this is important. It's important because A, you don't want to hold your child away from a parent even if they're in your care, if they're expressing a longing for, right? You don't ever want to like intentionally do that. But it's also important because it's okay as a dad to feel kind of sad when you're experiencing this. Being sad about it and working it out internally is totally different from kind of like projecting your sadness, projecting your disappointment on the situation as a whole, and keeping your child away from their mom and not making the phone call so they could just say hi, or like that's something that obviously no one's perfect. So if you're going through that, you'll just have to like go through these growing pains. And I brought this up because the other day I was in the car with my daughter, and I picked her up, and we were probably like 30 minutes into the hour drive that I have to go home. My daughter is 2. For any 2-year-old, an hour drive, if they're not napping, is not the most pleasant, right? Got to keep something like that in mind. Context. And, we're taking this drive, maybe like 45 minutes in, she starts, I see her getting antsy in her car seat, and she's kind of like sad, and she's like, "I want my mommy." Boom. Oh, right. Every dad knows that, right? And you could be like the most present dad in the world, and sometimes that happens. And I'm sure there are moments where she's with her mom and she's longing for her dad, right? So it happens. And instantly I remembered a time when my son, who was 12, did this. He's 12 right now, but at the time he was probably like 5 or 6. And he's like, "Oh, like I want my mom." And he's like sad, we're in the car. I kind of like low key lose it at this time, right? I'm like, what? Like you don't want to spend time with me? I'm literally telling a 5-year-old like how much he's hurting my feelings. Like, and I'm like, "You don't want to spend time with me? Like, like I'm not doing enough." And I'm going through these feelings of being hurt, which I stress that the most important part of this video is for dads to know that if that's you right now, it's okay to feel it, right? It's okay to feel that way. What's not okay is how you project that onto your child and how you project that onto the entire situation. And I'm man enough to sit here and say, when my son 6 years ago, when this happened, 6, 7 years ago, when this happened, I'm sure I did the wrong thing, right? Or what I perceive as wrong. I did that. He said it. I showed frustration. I showed sadness. We just continued the hour drive, right? I didn't even like call his mom, right? I just showed my frustration and I just continued to drive. And eventually he got over it, which I think he got over it in that moment, but it probably had a lasting impression on him for some time, right? So automatically thinking back to that moment with my son 6 years ago, I'm like, I got to take a different approach. So my approach is to first, I go to my daughter, I say, hey, you know, I look back in the mirror, I say, hey, Kenley, you know, I understand you miss mommy, and that's okay, right? I go, but daddy is so excited to see you, and I'm so excited to spend time with you, and I love you so much. And, you know, I just let her sit with that. And I'm like, let me see what happens. After I say that to her, she could, two things can happen. She could not care, she can care less, right? I hear you, but I need my mom. I'm still complaining. Or B, she could hear it, receive it, be emotionally intelligent enough, because we don't give kids enough credit for how emotionally intelligent they are. Be emotionally intelligent enough to be like, damn, that's true, right? Like, that makes sense. And she could stop. I already had my mind made up that if the situation was A, right, if I said this to her, no frustration, just conversation, very, very like neutral tone, very sincere. If I said this to her, she could literally say, yeah, no, still crying. Her mom would be on a speed dial. I would put the phone in her hands and I would let her talk to her mom for comfort immediately. That's my growth. That's what I've learned from these situations. But I tried to just let her know how I feel in a neutral tone. I promise you, she stopped complaining. Maybe 3 minutes later, she goes, She goes, Daddy. I say, yeah, baby girl, and she goes, I'm not sad anymore. I said, you're not sad anymore. She goes, no, I'm not sad anymore. And I go, okay, that's good, baby. And I go, but I want you to know, if you still feel sad or if you still just want to like call mommy, just tell me, and and we can call mommy. But I just want you to know that I love you very much and I'm just so excited to spend this time with you. And that was it. That's all it took, right? I don't feel bad about not placing the call in that moment, because what I did do was give her the opportunity, but I also told her how I felt. I expressed my emotions. And you might think it's nuts. I'm expressing my emotions to a 2 year old. You got to stop thinking that. We got to stop thinking that our children don't have the capacity to understand emotions. They do. Because this is where it might get dicey for some folks. They've been here before, right? They've been here before. Their souls have been here before. They're very advanced, and they're emotional beings themselves. So, I trusted my belief in that I can neutrally, sincerely, not upset, not frustrated, not sad, not even sad, right? Just neutrally say, hey, baby girl, like, I love you. I'm so excited to spend this time with you. And it's okay to miss mommy, but daddy loves you so much. Boom. That literally changed the entire landscape of the remainder of the car ride, right? So, something to think about, when your kid is longing for their moms while in your care, uh, express that it's okay for them to feel that way. Tell yourself that it's okay to kind of like to feel sad about that. you know? Um, but how do you project your feelings of sad? How do you project your feelings of disappointment? That's the issue, right? That could be the problem. And just like kind of work with yourself, right? When no one is around, do your inner work and realize that that's okay. They probably tell their mom they miss you. They miss you. Uh, Even if they never did, drop the dad ego. It's totally fine for them to miss someone that they have uh, a different type of attachment to. And notice I say different. I don't mean a higher attachment. I don't mean, the attachment to mom is bigger or more important than the attachment to you. It's just a different level of attachment. And I'm not placing one level higher than the other. It's just a different style of attachment and different type. So it's okay for them to be with you and sometimes want that other form of attachment. That's totally fine. Realize that's okay, and just don't project. And once you're able to do the kind of like that inner work on that, if you're struggling with this, put it into play the next time it happens, and just have conversations about this stuff, man. That's another thing. Like, talk about this openly. Start a discussion on social media. Go call your friend and be like, yo, like, have your son ever did this? Like, have they ever, like, and just kind of see what other dads are saying and how they handled it, and just start a conversation about this stuff, because this is what's really important. All right, I'm out of here. I just hope all the energy in you is shining bright. I hope you're feeling valued in your role as dad. And if you're not, just remember, you're trying your hardest. You're trying your best. And if no one else sees that, I see it. And have a good one.